with chapters 14 and 15. They're pretty short, so we're going to go ahead and just jump right in and get through these, right? To Janie's strange eyes, everything in the Everglades was big and new. Big Lake Okeechobee. I don't know why that caught me up. All right, Big Lake Okeechobee, big beans, big cane, big weeds, big everything. Weeds that did well to grow waist high up the state were 8 and often 10 feet tall down there. Ground so rich that everything went wild. Volunteer cane just taking the place. Dirt road so rich and black that half a mile of it would be fertilized a Kansas wheat field. Would have fertilized a Kansas wheat field. Wild cane on either side of the road, hiding the rest of the world. People wild too. Season don't open up till the last of September, but we had to get ahead of time to get us a room. T-Cake explained. 2 weeks from now, it'll be so many folks here, they won't be looking for rooms. They'll just be looking for somewhere to sleep. Now we got a chance to get a room at the hotel where they got a bathtub. You can live on the muck without you taking a bath every day. Do that, muck will catch you like, itch you like ants. Ain't but one place around here with a bathtub. Ain't nowhere near enough rooms. What we going to do around here? All day I'm picking beans, and all night I'm picking my box and rolling dice. Between the beans and the dice, I can't lose. I'm a going right now to pick me up a job of work with the best man on the muck before the rest of them gets here. You can always get jobs around here in the season, but not with the right folks. When do the job open up, TK? Everybody around here look like they waiting too. That's right. The big men has a certain time to open the season, just like in everything else. My boss man didn't get enough sufficient seed. He out hunting up a few more bushels. Then we's going to plant. Bushels? Yeah, bushels. This ain't no game for pennies. Poor man ain't got no business at the show. The very next day, he burst into the room in high excitement. Boss done bought out another man and want me down on the lake. I got houses for the first one that gets there. Let's go. They rattled 9 miles in a borrowed car to the quarters that squatted so close that only the dike separated them from the great sprawling Okeechobee. Janie fussed around the shack making a home while TK planted beans. After hours, they fished. Every now and then, they'd run across a party of Indians in the long, narrow dugouts, calmly winning their living in the trackless ways of the glades. Finally, the beans were in. Nothing much to do but to wait to pick them. TK picked his box a great deal for Janie, but he still didn't have enough to do. No need of gambling yet. The people who were pouring in were broke. They didn't come bringing money. They were coming to make some money. Tell you what, Janie, let's buy us some shooting tools and go around hunting around here. That would be fine, TK, except that you know I can't shoot. But I'd love to go with you. Oh, you needs to learn how. There ain't no need of you not knowing how to handle shooting tools, even if you didn't never find no game. It's always some trashy rascal that needs a good killing, he laughed. Let's go into Palm Beach and spend some of our money. Every day they were practicing. TK made her shoot little things to give her good aim. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna pause this because I lost my video and I don't know how to get it back. Oh, there it is. I don't think she put float on top, so we'll make it float on top. All right. Every day they were practicing. TK made her shoot at little things just to give her good aim. Pistol and shotgun and rifle. It got so the others stood around and watched them. Some of the men would beg for a shot at the target themselves. It was the most exciting thing on the muck. Better than the juke and the pool room. unless some special band was playing for a dance. And the thing that got everybody was the way Janie caught on. She got to the place that she could shoot a hawk out of a pine tree and not tear him up, shoot his head off. She got to be a better shot than TK. They go out any late afternoon and come back loaded down with game. One night, they got a boat and went out hunting alligators, shining their phosphorescent eyes and shooting them in the dark. They could sell the hides and teeth in Palm Beach besides having fun together till work got pressing. Day by day now, the hordes of workers poured in. Some came limping in with their shoes and sore feet from walking. It's hard trying to follow your shoe instead of your shoe following you. They came in wagons from way up in Georgia, and they came in truckloads from east, west, north, and south. Permanent transients with no attachments, and tired looking men with their families and dogs and flivvers. All night, all day, hurrying in to pick beans. Skillets, beds, patched up spare inner tubes, all hanging and dangling from the ancient cars on the outside, and hopeful humanity herded and hovered on the inside, chugging on to the muck. People ugly from ignorance and broken from being poor. All night now, the jukes clanged and clamored, pianos living three lifetimes in one, blues made and used right on the spot, dancing, fighting, singing, crying, laughing, winning and losing love every hour. Work all day for money, fight all night for love. The rich black earth clinging to bodies and biting the skin like ants. Finally, no more sleeping places. Men made big fires, and 50 or 60 men slept around each fire, but they had to pay the man whose land they slept on. He ran the fire just like his boarding place for pay. But nobody cared. They made good money, even to the children. So they spent good money. Next month and next year were other times. No need to mix them up with the present. TK's house was a magnet, the unauthorized center of the job. The way he would sit in the doorway and play his guitar made people stop and listen, and maybe disappoint the juke for that night. He was always laughing and full of fun, too. He kept everybody laughing in the bean field. Janie stayed home and boiled big pots of black-eyed peas and rice. Sometimes baked big pans of navy beans with plenty of sugar and hunks of bacon laying on top. That was something TK loved, so no matter if Janie had fixed beans 2 or 3 times during the week, they had baked beans again on Sunday. She always had some kind of dessert, too. As TK said, it give a man something to taper off on. Sometimes she'd straighten out the two-room house and take the rifle and have fried rabbit for supper when TK got home. She didn't leave him itching and scratching in his work clothes either. The kettle of hot water was already waiting when he got in. Then TK took to popping in the kitchen door at odd hours, between breakfast and dinner sometimes. Then, often around 2 o'clock, he'd come home and tease and wrestle with her for half an hour and slip back to work. So one day she asked him about it. TK, what you doing back in the quarters when everybody else is still working? Come to see about you. The booger man liable to tote you off whilst I'm gone. Ain't no booger man got me to study about. Maybe you think I ain't treating you right and you watching me. No, Janie. I know better than that. But since you got that in your head, I'll have to tell you the real truth so you can know. Janie, I gets lonesome out there all day without you. After this, you better come get a job and work there like the rest of the women so I won't be losing time coming home. TK, you's a mess. Can't do without me that little time. Ain't no little time. It's near about all day. So the very next morning, Janie got ready to pick beans along with TK. There was a suppressed murmur when she picked up a basket and went to work. She was already getting to be a special case on the mug. It was generally assumed that she thought herself too good to work like the rest of the women, and that TK pumped her up to that. But all day long, The romping and playing they carried on behind the boss's back made her popular right away. It got the whole field to playing off and on. Then Tea Cake would help get supper afterwards. You don't think I'm trying to get out of taking care of you, do you, Janie? Because I asked you to work alongside of me. Tea Cake asked her at the end of her first week in the field. Oh, no, honey. I likes it. It's more nicer than sitting around these quarters all day. Clerking in that little store was hard. But here, we ain't got nothing to do but our work and come home in love. The house was full of people every night. That is, all around the doorstep was full. Some were there to hear Tea Cake pick the box. Some came to talk and tell stories, but most of them came to get into whatever game was going on or might go on. Sometimes Tea Cake lost heavily, for there were several good gamblers on the lake. Sometimes he won, proud of his and made Janie proud of his skill. But outside of the two jukes, everything on that job went on around those two. Sometimes Janie would think of the old days in the big white house and the store and laugh to herself. What if Edenville could see her now in her blue denim overalls and heavy shoes, the crowd of people around her, and a dice game on her floor? She was sorry for her friends back there and scornful of the others. The men held big arguments here like they used to do on the store porch. Only here, she could listen and laugh and even talk some herself if she wanted to. She got so she could tell big stories herself from listening to the rest. Because she loved to hear it and the men loved to hear themselves, they would woof and boogaboo around the games to the limit. No matter how rough it was, people seldom got mad because everything was done for a laugh. Everybody loved to hear Ed Dockery, Bootany, and Sop the Bottom in a skiing game. Ed Dockery was dealing one night, and he looked over at Sop the Bottom's card, and he could tell Sop thought he was going to win. He hollered, I'll break up that certain eggs. Sop looked and said, Root the peg, Bootany asked. What are you going to do? Do. Everybody was watching the next card fall. Ed got ready to turn. I'm going to sweep out hell and burn up the broom. He slammed down another dollar. Don't oversport yourself, Ed, Bootany challenged. You getting too yaller. Ed caught a hold of the corner of the card. Sop dropped the dollar. I'm going to shoot up the hearse. Don't care how sad the funeral will be, Ed said. You see how this man is teasing hell? Tea Cake nudged Sop not to bet. You're going to get caught in a bullet storm if you don't watch out, Sop said. Ain't nothing that bear but his curly hair. I can look through muddy water and see dry land. Ed turned off the card and hollered, Zachariah, I says I come down out of that sycamore tree. You can't do no business. Nobody fell on that card. Everybody was scared of the next one. Ed looked around and saw Gabe standing behind his chair and hollered, Move from over me, Gabe. You too black. You draw heat. Sop, you want to pick up that bet whilst you got a chance. Nah, man, I wish I had 1,000 legs to put on it. So you won't listen, huh? Dumb Negroes and free schools. I'm going to take and teach you. I'll mainline, but I won't sidetrack. Ed flipped the next card and Sop fell and lost. Everybody hollered and laughed. Ed laughed and said, Get off the mug. You ain't nothing, that's all. Hot boiling water won't help you none. Ed kept on laughing because he had been so scared before. Sop, Bootany, and y'all that let me win your money. I'm sending it straight off to Sears and Roebuck and buy me some clothes. And when I turn out Christmas Day, it would take a doctor to tell me how near I is dressed to death. Janie learned what it felt like to be jealous. A little chunky girl took to picking a plate out of Tea Cake in the fields and in the quarters. If he said anything at all, she'd take the opposite side and hit him or shove him and run away to make him chase her. Janie knew what she was up to, luring him away from the crowd. It kept up for 2 or 3 weeks with Nunky getting bolder all the time. She'd hit Tea Cake playfully, and the minute he so much as tapped her with his finger, She fell against him, or she'd fall against him, or fall on the ground and have to be picked up. She'd be almost helpless. It took a good deal of handling to set her on her feet again. And another thing, TK didn't seem to be able to fend her off as promptly as Janie thought he ought to. She began to be snappish a little. A little seed of fear was growing into a tree. Maybe someday TK would weaken. Maybe he had already given secret encouragement, and this was Nunkie's way of bragging about it. Other people began to notice too, and that put Janie more on a wonder. One day they were working near where the beans ended and the sugar canes began. Janie had marched off a little from Tea Cake's side with another woman for a chat. When she glanced around, Tea Cake was gone. Nunky too. She knew because she looked. "Where's Tea Cake?" she asked soft about him. He waved his hand towards the cane field and hurried away. Janie never thought at all. She just acted on feelings. She rushed into the cane, and about the fifth row down, she found Tea Cake and Nunky struggling. She was on them before either knew. "What's the matter here?" Janie asked in a cold rage. They sprang apart. "Nothing," Tea Cake told her, standing shamefaced. "Well, what you doing in here? How come you ain't out there with the rest?" "She grabbed my working tickets out of my shirt pocket, and I run to get 'em back," Tea Cake explained, showing the tickets considerably mauled about in the struggle. Janie made a move to seize Nunky, but the girl fled. So she took out behind her over the humped up cane rows. But Nunky didn't mean to be caught, so Janie went on home. The sight of the fields and the other happy people was too much for her that day. She walked slowly and thoughtfully to the quarters. It wasn't long before TK found her there and tried to talk. She cut him short with a blow, and they fought from one room to the other. Janie trying to beat him, and TK kept holding her wrist and wherever he could to keep her from going too far. "I believe in you been messing around her," she panted furiously. "No such a thing," TK retorted. "I believe you did. I don't care how big a lie get told, somebody can believe it." They fought on. "You done hurt my heart. Now you come with a lie to bruise my ears? Turn go my hands," Janie seethed. But TK never let go. They wrestled on until they were doped up on their own fumes and emanations, till their clothes had been torn away, till he hurled her to the floor and held her there, melting her resistance with the heat of his body, doing things with their bodies to express the inexpressible. Kissed her till she arched her body to meet him, and they fell asleep in sweet exhaustion. The next morning, Janie asked like a woman, "You still love old Nunky?" "Nah, never did. And you know it too. I don't want her." "Yeah, you did." She didn't say this because she believed it. She wanted to hear his denial. She had to crow over the falling Nunky. "What would I do with a little chunk of woman with you around? She ain't good for nothing except to set up in the corner by the kitchen stove and break wood over her head. Use something to make a man forget to get old and forget to die." All right. And that's the end of chapter 15. Chapter 14 is important in that I want you to look at the relationship between TK and the other men in the town. And then I want you to think back to Joe Starks when they first went to Eatonville and how the men in the town interacted with him. And I want you to compare and contrast those two things. Joe and TK are sort of similar in that they're the big man in the town, but look at how the people treat them and how the people respect them. Is there a difference there? That's the first thing I want you to look at. Another question I think I asked you guys was, what's the reason for chapter 15? Chapter 15 is really something in that it is a chapter that sort of gives Janie back something that she lost in her childhood when Nanny made her first get married. It sort of gives her that, that schoolgirl thing that you get. You get to be jealous and you get to fuss over a guy. She never had that because she was forced to marry. And then when they moved to Edenville, everybody was so in awe of Joe Starks that that particular thing never came up. And even if it did, I don't think Janie would have cared as much. But here, you can see that she really loves TK. And so that jealousy is not really jealousy. It's more of a fear of like him leaving her and being with somebody else because she really, really, really cares about him and really wants to be with him. So then she's not just jealous in that way, she's more jealous, but there's this sort of fear that is laying in the background of that. I'll come back with another video, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day of chapter 16. We'll do a chapter every day until we get to chapter 20. So I think we have 5 chapters left. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah. 5 chapters left. I'll read one chapter at a time. Since some of you requested for me to read it out loud because it helps you. We will do that. And I shall see you guys tomorrow on Zoom. Good night.